Have you ever walked into a room and felt someone's attention lock onto you before you even said a word? That moment, that pause, is proof that words aren't always your strongest tool. In fact, the most magnetic women know how to speak volumes without saying anything at all. Too many women are taught to talk their way into being understood, into being chosen, into being loved. But the truth, real value doesn't need convincing. Real worth doesn't need an explanation. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, being supportive, expressing how you feel, trying to make it work, and still not being truly seen, this video is for you. Because today, I'm giving you 3 powerful non-verbal strategies that flip the script completely. These aren't gimmicks. They're deeply rooted in psychology, human attraction, and emotional power. Whether you're dating, healing, or rediscovering who you are, these methods will make a man feel your worth in a way words never could. By the end of this video, you won't need to prove anything. You'll be the proof. So if you're ready to stop explaining your value and start embodying it, stay exactly where you are. Let's begin. So why does silence hold so much power, especially in relationships? It's not just mystery or playing hard to get. The truth is, silent power operates on a psychological level that most people never realize. When you're silent, you allow space. And in that space, a man begins to project his thoughts, his feelings, and even his insecurities onto you. That's influence. That's presence. People tend to associate presence with speaking, with leading the conversation. But in reality, the one who's calm, grounded, and unbothered is the one who controls the emotional tone of the room. In psychology, this is called emotional regulation, and it's magnetic. The person who controls their emotional energy sets the pace. And most men are deeply drawn to women who hold this kind of quiet composure because it signals high value, inner stability, and self-trust. Now here's where it gets powerful. When you don't over-explain yourself, when you don't chase, when you don't rush to fill the silence, you're subconsciously telling him, I don't need your validation to exist comfortably. And that kind of energy, that's unforgettable. Humans are wired to notice contrast. Most people are reactive, loud, and impulsive in communication. So when a woman shows up with quiet confidence, she naturally stands out. She's not loud, but she's noticed. She's not aggressive, but she's respected. Men, especially masculine men, are instinctively attracted to feminine energy that is calm, unattached, and self-contained. Not cold, not dismissive, but rooted. When you embody that, you become the kind of woman a man doesn't just want. He starts fearing the idea of losing you, even if you haven't said a single word. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you choose your words with intention. You respond, not react. You listen more than you explain. And most of all, you hold your ground when silence gets uncomfortable, because you understand that your presence alone is enough. Think about it like this. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you automatically increase it. Your silence becomes a mirror. If he respects you, he'll lean in. If he doesn't, he'll show you who he really is. Either way, your silence reveals the truth faster than any conversation ever could. And that's the real psychology behind silent power. It's not about being quiet. It's about being so in control of yourself that your energy speaks before your mouth ever does. So if you've been feeling the urge to explain yourself, to prove your heart, to convince someone of your value, take a breath, pull back, let your silence speak. Because when a man feels your worth without you saying anything, that's when you truly have his attention. Let's talk about one of the most underestimated, yet unforgettable ways to show your worth without saying a word. What I call the magnetic exit. The magnetic exit isn't about being dramatic. It's not ghosting, it's not storming off or playing games. It's the art of walking away, calmly, confidently, and without explanation, when something doesn't serve your value. See, most people overstay. They keep giving, hoping things will shift. They keep talking, hoping to be heard. But the truth is, the more you try to explain your worth, the more invisible it becomes. The magnetic exit flips that script. It's rooted in something powerful. The idea that leaving with grace creates more impact than staying with resistance. When you exit a conversation, a date, or even an entire relationship, not with anger, but with clarity. You leave an energetic imprint. You become the woman he remembers, not because you begged or pleaded, but because you disappeared with dignity. Psychologically, this activates what's known as the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency for people to remember unfinished interactions more vividly. When you leave a moment without over-explaining, you create space in his mind. He starts replaying the interaction. He wonders, what just happened? And that curiosity is powerful. But here's the key. Your exit must be rooted in self-trust. No chasing, no checking back, no posting cryptic quotes, hoping he'll notice. True silent power lies in knowing you don't have to slam the door, just close it without fear. Imagine you're on a date, and something doesn't feel aligned. Instead of staying to make it comfortable for him, you simply stand, smile, and say, I think I'll call it a night. Take care. That moment, that's unforgettable. Not because you made a scene, but because you didn't need to. You removed yourself, and in doing so, you raised your perceived value instantly. Men remember women who remove their energy with intention. It signals to them that your time, your peace, your standards are not negotiable. And this doesn't just apply to romantic situations. It applies to texts you don't need to respond to, calls you don't need to return, conversations you no longer need to entertain. And what happens next? He notices the absence. He starts to reflect. And if he values you, he will move, not because you asked him to, but because your silence spoke louder than words ever could. So remember, you don't have to prove your point. You don't have to stay just to be understood. The magnetic exit is a quiet, powerful reminder that you are your own closure, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing as you walk away. Now let's get into method number 2. One that's subtle, simple, and yet incredibly magnetic, the high-value pause. Most women rush to fill silence. They answer too quickly, react too emotionally, or respond out of habit, not out of power. But a high-value woman knows the strength of the pause. She knows that every pause she takes isn't hesitation, it's intention. The high-value pause is about choosing stillness before reaction. It's that moment where you breathe before you reply, where you observe before you explain, where you feel before you decide what to say, or if you even want to respond at all. Why does this work? Because it shifts the dynamic. When you pause, you break the pattern. Most people are used to emotional reactions, fast replies, defensive energy. But when you pause, just for a beat, you instantly communicate that you are not driven by impulse. You're grounded, you're self-contained, and that psychologically commands respect. Let's say he sends a vague text, or gives a half-hearted response, or says something that triggers you. The old version of you might reply immediately, trying to clarify, prove, or fix it. But the high-value version of you takes a pause. Maybe it's a few seconds, maybe it's hours, maybe it's days. But that pause is powerful because it gives you time to process, not react. And on his end, that pause speaks volumes. He starts to wonder. He feels the shift in energy. He realizes you're not emotionally available on demand, that he doesn't have immediate access to you. And this builds value, because what's not instantly available becomes more desirable. Think about the most magnetic women you've ever seen. They move slowly. They speak with space between their words. They aren't rushing to be liked, to be heard, to be validated. That pause between their words creates tension, the kind of tension that pulls people in. This method is not about playing hard to get. It's about embodying emotional maturity. Because the woman who pauses owns her emotions. She's not performing. She's not reactive. She's observing, choosing, and protecting her peace before anything else. And here's something most don't realize. The pause doesn't just affect him. It changes you. It puts you back in control of your emotional experience. It allows you to decide from self-worth, not from fear or insecurity. That pause builds inner strength. And over time, it teaches people how to treat you with more care, more patience, and more presence. So the next time you're tempted to respond quickly, to fix, to prove, or to fill the silence, stop, breathe. Let the high-value pause speak for you. Because sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is to take your time. Now we're diving into the final and one of the most transformational methods, the mirror effect. And once you understand this one, you'll never look at connection the same way again. The mirror effect is simple, but it's powerful. You reflect back to a man exactly what he shows you. Not through words, not through arguments, just through behavior. You don't chase more effort, you match it. You don't force understanding, you mirror what's being offered. Here's why this works so deeply. Most people are not used to accountability in relationships. They're used to being forgiven quickly, being over-explained to, or being given energy they haven't earned. But when you become the mirror, you stop giving more than what's reflected to you. And suddenly, he sees himself through you. That's where the power lies. Let's say he's inconsistent, texting less, investing less, showing up halfway. The old version of you might have tried harder, asked questions, or explained how you feel. But the woman who uses the mirror effect doesn't lecture. She simply reflects that same energy. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. He pulls back, so do you. He becomes distant, you stop leaning in. He makes less effort, you don't make up the difference. And here's the shift. You don't explain the change. You let your silence speak. You let your absence of reaction become the mirror. This method is rooted in emotional maturity. You're not trying to punish anyone. You're just no longer abandoning yourself to make something work. And when a man experiences that kind of reflection, something clicks. Either he steps up, or he steps out. But either way, you've protected your value. The mirror effect also shows you the truth faster. Instead of waiting months to see if someone will meet you where you are, you reflect back what they're giving, and watch how they respond. It creates clarity, fast, and more importantly, it keeps you in alignment with your worth. You're not lowering your standards, you're honoring them, quietly, consistently. Men may not always understand words, but they understand patterns. When they notice they no longer have unlimited emotional access to you, when you stop carrying the connection alone, they feel that shift, and they will either rise to meet you, or reveal they were never capable of being on your level. So if you've been doing too much, overgiving, or trying to make someone see your value, pause, step back, and become the mirror. Because when a man looks into you and sees his own reflection, he's forced to ask himself, is this who I want to be? And that moment is where true transformation begins. Me. Let's bring it all together with something I call the silent confidence formula. Because at the heart of every magnetic woman is this unshakable energy, quiet yet undeniable, present but never desperate. Silent confidence isn't about being cold or distant. It's not about pretending not to care or shutting down emotionally. Real silent confidence is warm, it's open, but it is centered. It means your value isn't up for debate. It means you can walk into a room or into a man's life without needing to perform to be seen. The woman who carries silent confidence doesn't rush to prove her worth. She simply is the worth. It's in her posture, her energy, her decisions. It's in the way she says no without guilt. In the way she smiles and says nothing when a situation doesn't deserve her reaction. It's in the way she knows she's the prize, without needing anyone else to validate it. At the psychological level, silent confidence taps into what's called self-containment. It means you're emotionally full, not emotionally hungry. You don't need to fill every gap with words. You don't need to overshare or over-explain. Your energy already communicates who you are, and people feel it before you say anything. Here's the formula in action. You walk away when something doesn't feel right, and you don't look back. You take your time before responding, and you're not afraid to be still. You mirror energy, not to manipulate, but to protect your peace. You allow space, not to create distance, but to let clarity rise to the surface. You become a woman who chooses herself so consistently that anything or anyone not aligned with her peace naturally falls away. This is the kind of confidence men are drawn to, not because it's loud, but because it's rare. It's not demanding, it's not showy, it's just undeniable. And it cannot be faked. Silent confidence also doesn't chase closure. It doesn't beg to be understood. It knows that the right people won't need to be convinced. They'll just feel it. And the ones who don't, they'll disqualify themselves. No effort needed on your part. So, if you've ever been told you need to be more vocal, more emotional, more clear about your worth, remember the most unforgettable women often say the least. They let their presence do the talking. Their standards speak louder than their explanations ever could. That's the magic of the silent confidence formula. It's not about saying you're high value. It's about living like you know it, quietly, consistently, powerfully. And when you start showing up this way, trust me, they notice. So now you've learned 3 powerful methods to show your worth, without ever needing to raise your voice, explain yourself, or chase someone to see you. The truth is, your power has never been in your words. It's always been in your energy, in the way you walk away when something feels wrong, in the way you pause instead of react, in the way you mirror energy not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You don't need to become louder to be heard. You just need to become clearer in how you carry yourself. And I want to say this, if no one has told you lately, you are already enough, not the version of you that's trying harder, fixing herself, overthinking texts, or making excuses for someone's lack of effort. The version of you that's quietly watching this video, the version that feels something waking up inside her, that's the real you. And that brings me to your challenge. I want you to choose silence, just once, where you would have normally chosen reaction, not to play games, not to punish anyone, but to practice power. Maybe it's that message you don't need to answer right away. Maybe it's that invitation you don't feel aligned with. Maybe it's that situation where you'd normally explain yourself, but this time you don't, just once. Practice stillness. Let your silence speak. Let your energy lead. What you'll find is that the world around you will start shifting. People will treat you differently. Some will pull away. Good. That's clarity. Others will lean in. Even better. That's alignment. But more importantly, you will feel different. Calmer. More centered. More in control. Not of them, but of yourself. And that's where real confidence begins. You see, you don't have to become anyone else to be respected or desired. You just have to stop abandoning yourself. Every time you stay quiet instead of chasing, every time you hold your ground instead of explaining, every time you walk away instead of begging, you're sending a message, not to them, to you. You're saying, I trust myself now. I choose myself now. I don't need to be louder. I just need to be aligned. So here's what I'll leave you with. Try just one of the methods from this video in the next 48 hours. Pick one moment to act from self-worth, not fear. And watch how fast your energy shifts, and how quickly others start to notice. And when they do, smile, say nothing, and know that you're finally leading with silent confidence. Before you go, I have a few quick bonus tips, and some exciting announcements you won't want to miss. First, let me give you one last tip to hold in your back pocket. Your energy doesn't lie. Even when you say nothing, your body, your presence, your vibe communicates everything. So make sure your silent confidence isn't just something you do. Let it become who you are. Practice showing up calm, collected, self-assured. That way, no matter where you are, whether you're in a room, on a date, or even just scrolling, your energy stays grounded in your worth. Here's another quick tip. Let them come to you. You don't need to initiate every conversation or chase after clarity. When someone is truly aligned with you, they'll move toward you without pressure or performance. The more still you become, the easier it is to see who's really showing up and who's just showing off.